You find the and Matt Keating has joined as well.
Like we get close to a 4.
At this
Hello.
point, I think we're there, yeah.
Hey, Matt. Travis,
Hey.
Steve, are you doing?
There you are.
Yep, so we're recording and everybody's here, so I think we're good.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the Lane Regional Air Protected Agency Monthly Board of Directors meeting on 8 June at 12:15. First order of business adjustments to the agenda. Any directors have adjustments that they'd like to make? I have one, that would be, we need to postpone the executive session, which is pertaining to the director's performance review to next month's meeting. The city attorney who was responsible for the 360 administration, the Memorial Day weekend made it hard to get with some of the staff members, so we need to, she's still compiling the data. So she'll compile that data and include it in the director's evaluation and then send it all out, and we'll get together on July to go through that.
Quick request, we usually get one of those blank template forms. I didn't get one of those, so before next month.
She's going to send that out to all the directors,
Okay, perfect, thank you.
along with a summary of the 360. Okay. Any other, Steve, do you have any other changes in that?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right, then we're up for public participation. Time limit is 3 minutes per speaker. First, we'll start with comments on an item on today's agenda. And I don't know if we have any public in the
Well,
space.
I guess for our record keeping too, attendance could be helpful. So in the room from LRAPA's board, we have David, Howard, Mike, and Brian. Online, we have Matt and Joe. And then other participants who are with us are mostly LRAPA staff, but Amanda, Beth, Chris, Colleen, Lance, Max, and Robbie. We also have Jim Daniels, who's with us, who's the chair of the CAC. Grace with Good Company, who'll be presenting later today, and Anna Lee with HRA, who also will be presenting today. And then Diana, who's our minutes recorder. And that is everyone present currently, and I don't see any members of the public. But if anybody would like to speak, raise your hand on Zoom and we're ready to do that.
All right, nothing heard there. Next would be items not included on today's agenda.
And so raise your hand if anybody would like to speak, but I'm suspecting nobody will.
All right, moving on to item 4, and that's comments from board members. Directors, do you have any comments to be made online or in the room?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Nothing heard, so we'll move to the consent calendar. If I could hear a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mike and seconded by Howard. And all those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, nothing heard. Motion passes. On to reports and action items. First would be Grace, I believe, Oak Ridge Air Report. Any introduction to that, Steve, or just hand it over?
Just hand it over.
Yep, let me, Grace, I'll promote you to the, oh, sorry, I see Janine is here. Hi, Janine. I didn't see you join in. Let Janine hop on in, panelist. And then we'll see if she has anything to say or mention before moving on to Grace, I think. Good.
Hi, Janine. We went through director's comments. Do you have anything you need to bring forward?
As part of comments, I can't think of anything right at this moment. Sorry. You guys went very fast. And did you start at 12:15?
We did.
Whoa, okay. Wow. All right. Keep
Thank
on
you.
rolling. Thank you.
All right. Grace, are you in the room?
Yep, she's joining.
Hi, Grace.
Hello, thank you very much, Chair and LRAPA Board for having me here today. I'm excited to give a quick update about Oak Ridge Air and progress from the program in the last 6-ish months since the last update, I think, was in October. So we'll run through kind of some highlights and what the program has been up to this year. And of course, I'm available for questions. So first, I would like to share a little bit about kind of where we're at for a timeline in the grant and a tag 1 extension request. So we're in conversations with LRAPA staff and the program management team to put together a request to EPA to extend the tag 1 grant for 1 year. That would take it through 2025. And this is really due to delays early on in the program surrounding COVID-19 and some of the supply chain and contractor challenges. So in order to meet our target of home heating upgrades and expend all of the funding, we're thinking it's going to be necessary to have that additional year. So we're in that process. It seems like it's going to be pretty straightforward from the EPA side. So more updates to come there, and we're happy to answer any questions if you have any. Next up is a kind of follow-up on the Cedar Creek Fire and Smoke event. So I know you've heard some about this already, but just to share that there was an after action report completed by SWS and U of O partners. And I highlighted some of the kind of key findings from that after action report. And if anyone is interested in reading further, we can share the full AAR out with folks. But overall, I think kind of probably no surprises that there are some needs for increased capacity around emergency operations and communications during an emergency, as well as some of the smoke response needs. One key highlight there, I think, is additional support for the schools. During the Cedar Creek fire, partners on the ground helped coordinate with Oregon Health Authority and got industrial air scrubbers in the schools, as well as purifiers in every classroom. And yet there were still really extreme challenges for indoor air quality and not a lot of guidance for how to kind of manage that in the schools and whether or not to keep classes in session and looking at the indoor versus outdoor air quality. So I think some good lessons learned there.
Yeah,
Next
Grace, if
up-
I might interrupt for a second,
Please.
just for the board, from a mayor's hat perspective, we were trying to address some of these shortfalls with grant writing right now and get some support for, particularly for emergency operations center, some of the communication and emergency planning stuff. So anyway, we'll have some success on those grants and move forward on that. Thanks, Grace.
It looks like we have a question from Commissioner Piscineri.
Yes, thank you. I was just curious, I noticed there's a lack of, or maybe it's intentional or not known, whether or not the Forest Service or their firefighting branch has got any future plans in regards to mitigating the smoke impact or mitigating their firefighting efforts to lessen the impact of an increased area of fire as opposed to decreasing that fire size closer toward the city.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit. I'm certainly not an expert on Forest Service operations, but I do think there's been some exciting work and conversations and a workshop recently in the community led by Forest Service and SWS around the pods concept, which is potential operational delineation areas. And it's kind of an emerging way of looking at forest management at a very granular level to see what existing fuel breaks and other landscape features might be there so that the Forest Service could be more proactive in their off-season thinning and kind of mitigation work to kind of contain that from the beginning. But I think that's still really from a fire perspective, and the piece about smoke and reducing smoke impacts is still kind of newer to the conversation. But again, that's a non-expert perspective. And Mayor, if you want to weigh in with any further comments, please do.
No, yes, Joe, we are involved in the pod effort that Grace mentioned directly. The smoke thing, it's an issue we're still trying to get our hands around, and it's a double-edged sword when you do some of this burning, and we're trying to also increase the community capacity to take care of, to get clean rooms, which is part of the effort, that kind of thing. But we've engaged the Forest Service in this effort, but we're still, like Grace mentioned, kind of in the beginning stages.
All right, thank you. So to continue on here, some updates for the home heating upgrades part of the program. So we had our new home heating upgrade coordinator Thaddeus brought on in Q3 of 2022. So we're just starting the first cohort of homes under his guidance. It took a while with transition, getting him up to speed, and then of course the fire delays and some changes with our auditor, but he is now managing the first cohort of homes from start to finish and has made a lot of great progress closing out previous homes and looking for ways to streamline the process and make it more efficient. And he's got a great rapport with the contractors and residents in the community. So I'm looking forward to seeing the upgrades happening and increasing the speed and pace that we're getting upgrades completed. And another piece of that is having more capacity for outreach and education in the community and some local contractor recruiting. And so we have some more local contractors in the program as well. And go ahead, Commissioner Precy.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you again as
No
you're
worries.
trying to move through this report. I've been looking at these statistics and, I understand there's been so many challenges and it's just exciting to see the work progressing. But since I'm not as familiar with the area, can you give me a sense of percent complete? Where do you think you are? I know you're doing a year extension, but are we kind of 10% or 50% or kind of what's your guesstimate about, how far along are we if there's a kind of a ultimate end date?
Yeah, so in terms of tag 1, the number of homes we're aiming to complete is 145. And I think we've had some changes around that in terms of homes and upgrades becoming more expensive with inflation and as time goes on. But I think that gives you some kind of overall context for where we are with 68 homes currently in the program.
Thank you.
The number of fully complete homes is lower, but I think we really started out with some of the most complicated and challenging homes that were sole source and really had some of the more heavy needs for weatherization and some other upgrades and challenges. So some of those first homes have dragged on very long, and a lot of the homes that we're working with now, we're able to move through the whole process quicker. So I think we're definitely not moving as quickly as we'd like to be, but we're seeing that pace increase. And at our next update, we can include some more of those contexts for percent completion for the different projects, if that would be helpful.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
And then some of these numbers, as you'll see, for wood stove change outs and electrical heat and weatherization are higher than the total numbers of homes complete in the 30s. And that's just due to kind of our order of operations for doing the work and then waiting until the final audit has happened and every thing has been checked and balanced before we report to EPA that the home is fully complete. So there's a little bit of delay time there. Another key thing to highlight here is the engagement and additional interest that we've gotten from the Cedar Creek Fire air filter distribution and following up with residents that found the program through that. And so we have an additional 803 interested residents as a result of that, that our team has reached out to individually through primarily phone calls. And we found many more homes in the community that are highly qualified, some sole source homes and some in Willamette City in the heart of where the smoke is greatest. So it's really great to see that we're kind of reaching farther and getting a better picture of kind of what the need is for the upgrades. And I won't read through the testimonials, but included a couple testimonials from residents about the process and people enjoying particularly the ductless heat pumps and the ability to have heating as well as cooling. Next up is a quick update about our chimney sweep voucher and vendor program. So we've kicked that off with Second Chance Roof and Chimney to pilot the chimney sweep voucher program. So far, 12 have been completed, and those are valued at $250 for eligible residents in the community, basically to get it's free to them to have their chimney swept, and all in kind of working towards having as efficient as possible stoves in the community and distributing the benefits of the program as far and wide as we can. It's also a great way for us to get more information about wood stoves in the community that might not already be in the program. So we've found a couple of priority homes for upgrades through the chimney sweep program.
Hey, Grace, can I ask a question real quick?
Of course.
I've got a wood hoarder across the street from my house who chops wood day and night because he's retired LTD bus driver. is there a way we could expand our cord delivery system to help this guy out? Or is it something that we're already locked into some contract? I asked that in jest, but in some degree of seriousness too.
Well, so I'm not sure where your neighbor is, but of course, this Oak Ridge Air program is just in the Oak Ridge community, first of all.
Well, I've got a great source of wood, good cut, and if you guys need help, I can help. So there you go.
Okay, yep, thank you. And great segue into the community firewood program. So quick kind of bullet points here about the number of cords that were delivered this fiscal year. And we are highlighting a couple of the challenges that we've seen, particularly around source stock and the Cedar Creek fire. There was kind of both an increased demand and a decreased supply resulting from the fire. So more people needed wood because there were less folks going out and collecting it on their own. And there's been an overall increase in awareness of the program, but we've also had some challenges getting source stock because of the fire. So working through all of those pieces on the ground, as well as building capacity by bringing on Brock's Woodlot to start to build out the commercial side of the community firewood program in hopes that with continued partnership with them and inbound, we'll be able to sustain the program beyond the funding from the EPA grant. So exciting to see some kind of entrepreneurship and on the ground collaboration trying to stand up that program and continue it. And then we have some really exciting updates around communications and messaging. So first and foremost, there's a new electronic message center or reader board that was installed in April at the Oak Ridge Fire Department. That was a funded partnership between the Targeted Airshed Grant and DEQ. And we're working with the city of Oak Ridge, of course, and are able to promote smoke messaging and alerts about home heat advisory days and things like that on the reader board. We're also working on our ambassador program, so working with local community members to kind of help them understand all the different complicated, nuanced pieces of the program and then be able to share and relay that information on to their neighbors. And participating in community meetings and events. I won't list everything, but we've had a lot of great outreach and connection with the community and are planning for the next 3rd annual wildfire safety night coming up in July. We also included some of the outreach and engagement metrics here in this report. So our reach in terms of text message service, newsletter subscribers, and Facebook followers. And I think I want to highlight here that a lot of these high numbers are a direct kind of correlation to the Cedar Creek fire response. And we had a very large increase in who we're reaching and how big those lists are after the fire. Of course, the woodshed program is still underway with Oak Ridge High School. I think 18 sheds were delivered in 2022 and 11 so far in 2023. And we're still in the process of working with them. We have funding for 150 total. So that's going to expand over the next couple of years through tag 2. And then we partnered with the school district and the Middle Fork Watershed Council for Oak Ridge Outdoor School. That happened, I think, in May as well. And then the last update here is about the University of Oregon research project. So the University of Oregon, we have kind of 2 different segues that we're working with. One is indoor air quality. So we're installing purple air monitors into the homes of folks in the home heating upgrade program. And then we're looking at air quality in their homes before and after upgrades are installed. And the other piece is looking at overall kind of communications and public perceptions and the community's understanding and thoughts around smoke and air quality. And so on the communication side, we've just had the UO team complete a communications audit where they reviewed everything that we've done over the last couple of years and provided input on kind of what's working and what could be improved for all those different communication methods, including the website and Facebook and text messages. And we've gotten some really great direction from them around engagement and keeping people interested. And next up, they're going to be distributing a community-wide survey that's going to, again, ask people about their perceptions and thoughts and feelings and understanding about smoke. And we're really curious to see those results and only wish that we had done kind of a parallel survey before the Cedar Creek fire in the last couple of summers, because I think anecdotally, we've seen a lot of kind of perspective shifting on the ground in the community with the wildfire increase. So that is all I have for our update today, but I'm happy to answer any other questions if folks have further thoughts.
Directors, anything? Janine?
Hey, I'll let Matt go first.
Okay, Matt?
Thanks, Janine. Just caught my ear the wildfire awareness or wildfire resilience event in July in Oak Ridge. If you wouldn't mind sharing an invitation to the entire LRAPA team, I'd love to head out to Oak Ridge and attend and see firsthand what is being presented, and I look forward to that opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah,
Matt will-
absolutely.
Yeah, happy to share the invite with you, Matt, and the rest of the board. It's usually a lot of fun. Janine?
Yeah, thank you for that, Matt. That's a great idea. I appreciate you bringing that up and would be curious to attend for a number of reasons. Hey, so this is my last LRAPA meeting, and I say this almost every time you guys do a quarterly report, but I really believe that the work that you're doing is groundbreaking. It's a national model, and I just wish that we could get the word out further to celebrate your success for Oak Ridge. And I'll just continue to just say, please, 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 if there's any way that you need some ideas or thoughts about how to promote and kind of pat yourself on the back. I just think like I would pitch this to KLCC and Rachel McDonald and have them do a story. I would go to Eugene City Club and talk to City Club. There's so much bad news in the world. Like we are inundated and wildfire season is upon us and it's stressing me out. And this is really gives people a reason to feel hopeful about how a very small community with a lot of challenges can really come together and see success. And I just can't stress enough. I just really think our community, our state should really be celebrating this because it's such a success story, and it gives us a good news story at a time when I think a lot of us need it. So
Thank you so much for that. It's great to hear. And I mean, we're so grateful for all of the wonderful partnerships and collaboration on this project and how it's been able to expand over time and continues to expand to try and look at these issues from a very kind of broad multidisciplinary perspective.
well, if you have a pitch, I will send. I have good contacts at KLCC. I have good contacts at City Club. I'd be happy if you ever are interested, let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janine. And for the directors, just one thing, there's been a couple of grants outside of the TAG program that we've received. One was actually was sent to South Willamette Solutions, the other to the city itself, and it was a fuels reduction from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office, where we've gotten some money to get rid of underbrush, trees. The South Willamette Solutions was primarily outside city limits, but it's on the ridge above the city, which was ripe with stuff on the ground, and they're almost through that grant. And then the city is just starting on their grant, which allow them to buy equipment to mitigate as well as do the mitigation itself on inside city limits on city properties that are forested. So that's and it helps. It's directly supportive of the Oak Ridge Air program.
If I may just add, and thanks, Chair, and to Jean, to your point about getting the word out about the good work that's happening under this tag. We have at least several times now been invited to speak on a national level. I think recently Travis and possibly Grace went to Denver and at an EPA sponsored meeting, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was so the Oak Ridge Air work is on wood stove pollution and reducing it. And so it was a national conference hosted by the EPA in Denver about that topic and reducing residential wood smoke pollution. And so we presented on the Oak Ridge Air, I present on the Oak Ridge Air model and how we implement it. And we're sharing some of those approaches and resources. And then also up in Seattle the following week was the wildfire or smoke management conference hosted by the EPA. That wasn't so Oak Ridge Air focused, but there was some Oak Ridge Air ideas that were shared in a presentation I gave to that conference as well.
Right. Well, Grace, as always, phenomenal job. We appreciate the update.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Moving on to item 8, which is a presentation from HR Answers.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I can introduce Anna Lee, who's going to be popping up on the screen here in just a second. But back in November of last year, we started to embark on getting a contract in place for HR Answers to work with us, which we started that work in January to do a couple of different things. One is to do the salary survey comparisons, but also at the same time, it prompted us the need to take a look at position descriptions that represent the agency positions. And so Anna Lee, who's well experienced in doing both of those, has helped us to get to this point, and she's going to report out to you right now about that very project. Thank you.
Hi, Anna. I think you're on mute.
You're
still.
mute. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's been a pleasure to work with LRAPA over the last few months. We partnered back in February in regards to a project, and I was hoping I could share my screen in regards to a brief presentation on the project that we worked in partnership with Steve and Susanna on. Let's see. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And again, my name is Anna Lee. I'm a senior consultant with HR Answers out of Tigard, Oregon. And LRAPA and I have partnered on a classification, Oregon pay equity and compensation project. So this presentation is just an overview of what we've provided. I do believe that both the pay equity summary report and the compensation summary report is in your packet for review as well. So we met a few times with the group at LRAPA here at HR Answers in regards to scoping the project itself. So we had project overview. What was evident that needed to happen first was laying the good foundation for the entire project, which was first a classification review of all of the jobs at LRAPA. And so what we did is we provided LRAPA with some qualifications that should be in a job description. Steve was able to provide a few examples of what he was looking for the job description overviews, and we used those in combination with working with the team there at LRAPA and HR Answers to have a consistent job description format. So that was the first, laying the foundation for that was the first part of our project. The second piece of that project, once all job descriptions were reviewed, and I do want to mention that at the time that we reviewed the jobs that were currently at LRAPA, a lot of them did not have full job descriptions. So that process took a little time to get the information, and we did meet with the group there, the managers in person, to get information from them specifically about the jobs. Then we move on to the pay equity part of the project that we've partnered with you folks on. That is